Oh, now we need to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen. We were going through the data mines, and obviously there's a load of data mine and information out there around what's coming with the new anniversary, right? But this little doozy I thought was super sexy and sweet. That's right. We are all getting one free Relic 10. All right? One free Relic 10. Now, don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. You have to have the Relic 9 character beforehand, but if you have a Relic 9 character, we are getting free mats to take one character from Relic 9 to Relic 10. Let's talk about who that should be. So as I was saying, I was going through the data mine that we had for the anniversary event, and there's this little doozy over here, the Anniversary Bonus Calendar 2025 description, a purchase limit of 1. Build up the characters with this free 7-day calendar containing materials for Relic 10. In this calendar, you will obtain enough to level your Relic 9 to Relic 10 for free. I mean, the language in this is really bad, so I hope it gets cleaned up, because that is not a sentence. But what that is telling us is they're saying, look, free 7-day calendar containing the materials you need to take one character from Relic 9 to Relic 10. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. So let's have a quick talk then about who are some of the best units to take to Relic level 10, okay? Because Relic Delta is coming and you're getting a free one anyway. So should we be spending it or should we be hoarding it? Let's do this, baby. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Scribe's roster. 14.3 million GP and 1 mug of really hot tea. Actually, I lie, it's not that hot, but it is nice and warm, which is exactly what I need to warm the cockles on this wintry day. It has been absolutely chucking it down here in not-so-sunny Wales, and I do feel like warm drinks are the future. Okay, so let's get the obvious out of the way first and foremost. Galactic Legends are always going to be prime candidates in terms of taking to Relic 10. Now, I don't need to explain too much in detail about why, partially because they have this Galactic Legend unique, which gives them 10% max health, max protection per Relic amplifier level. Okay, so, I mean, the damage reduction is just a flat 30%, but essentially, if you give a Relic level to a GL, they're gaining an extra 10% max health and protection. More survivability is always good. Obviously, the other side of that, of course, is that every single GL in this game is a fantastic kit in and of itself. Yes, even Lord Vader is very, very good. So they tend to be top choices to try and take to Relic 10. You certainly want to make it more difficult for your enemy to take down your Relic 10 units, so put them on your best teams. Typically, that's going to be Galactic Legends. Now, I do think that some Galactic Legends hold more value in terms of Relic 10, but you can't really make too many wrong choices here. Personally, I would say some of the most important ones are going to be characters like, for example, Pirate King Hondo. He's an evasion character. He's a fantastic PvP unit. Same goes for Leia Organa. Leia also benefits from being a tank, which typically, we don't know yet because we haven't seen the stat gains, but typically they get a big boost in survivability at late Relic levels. That might be the case again, making her significantly more powerful. So I would say characters like Pirate King Hondo, Leia, Jedi Master Luke for the same reason, right? His leadership ability, which gives him this inherited teachings ability. This does damage based on 60% of his max protection. Because he is once again a tank, it is presumed that he's going to get a big jump once again in protection, which is going to increase the damage that you deal with inherited teachings. Now, I'm going to give you one little bit of forewarning on this. If you are to do this, right, you will do more damage. However, the way that we deal damage with inherited teachings is going to be influenced by Relic Delta. So if you use it, it's going to be based on 60% of his base max protection, essentially, after modding. But based on the character you call to assist, that is where the Relic Delta is going to be checked. So say you have got Jedi Master Luke at Relic 10, you've got Jedi Knight Cal Kestis at Relic 8, and you've got Hermit Yoda at Relic 5. If you were to call in Hermit Yoda using Inherited Teachings, who's Relic 5, and you're targeting a unit that's Relic 9, he is going to deal reduced damage. Okay, Relic Delta still impacts true damage. It impacts all damage apart from damage which you deal to yourself, like exposes, thermals, burning, anything that you can think of like that, right? So There is still going to be an element of he might well do reduce damage or conversely increase damage. Let's not forget about the upside. If you called in a Relic 9 unit versus a Relic 5 unit, it's going to do a lot more damage yet again, alright? With that being said, I think if you were going to go for JML, you will also really want to go, I think I hit an extra space there, you would really want to put additional relic levels on your Jedi Knight Cal Kestis. He's already the most important unit to call to assist in a JML team, typically speaking, because he's always going to be attacking multiple times. He can attack under protection when he's gone into windmill defense, provided he was in a different configuration beforehand, and leads to situations where you can attack directly under protection for frankly ridiculous levels of damage. Now, I'm not saying take Jedi Knight Cal Kestis to Relic 10, but, you know, having him at Relic 8 or Relic 9 realistically is not a bad thing. He's still very good in Rise of the Empire TB, and generally speaking will help your Jedi Master Luke Skywalker in totality, because you almost always want to call Jedi Knight Cal Kestis to assist. So it's just something to keep in mind if you're thinking about doing Jedi Master Luke, okay? Apart from Jedi Master Luke, Pirate King Hondo, Leia, who else could you go for? Pretty much anyone. The only thing that I would say in terms of who's maybe not the best, I would probably say Jedi Master Kenobi is not an ideal Relic 10. Still not a bad thing, but generally speaking, he doesn't really need the relic levels so much. It's nice, don't get me wrong, but you're better served, I feel, going for almost any other GL. Yes, even someone like GL Ahsoka Tano will benefit quite heavily from this. She is a tank as well. She's going to gain a big boost in survivability, and if you are using a full GL Ahsoka Tano team, basically means using GL Ezra, because he is the GL of the team, then that survivability is still going to go a long way. She can still time out teams with the right datacron setup and really good modding. She's not a terrible unit. Every single one of these guys, though, are going to bring you good value. I would personally like to start with the big ones, Hondo, Leia, Luke, that sort of thing. I would even consider Lord Vader. Lord Vader, even though we like to joke around and call him Lord Failure, is still very good on offense in terms of what can he take down. He can take down pretty much any team on offense. And he benefits massively from having his team all maxed out in relic levels as well, just because of the way his leadership works, okay? So every single time that we are doing stuff, right? So look, whenever a Darkside ally loses a buff, Empire and Darkside Unaligned Force users gain 1% mastery stacking. The higher your base mastery, the higher that 1% mastery stacking is going to be increasing, okay? He also increases mastery when you go into ultimate. Typically, it's when you're at 100% ult charge, he gains 75% mastery from all of his allies. So the higher that mastery is on his team, the more mastery that Lord Vader is going to absorb and the more damage that he's going to do. He also does quite a lot of damage, just generally speaking, with his Unshackled Emotions. And if you look again, all Darkside allies gain 1% mastery until the end of this encounter. So it's a very, very powerful team to have at high relic levels in general. Not saying it's probably the first one that you should do, but they all work. Even Rey, with her Whirlwind ability over here, Sudden Whirlwind, deal 2 times massive damage, which is 100,000 damage, dealing 7% more damage per relic amplifier level. So at Relic 10, she'll do 70% more damage on top of that, which is, you know, an extra 140,000 damage or something like that, right? So even Rey will benefit from stuff like this, and she is, of course, a damage-based relic level. So if we look at her mastery, she increases crit chance, crit damage, and damage with her mastery as it gets higher and higher. Take her to Relic 10, this base mastery level is going up, which means all of these stats will get boosted. She also has a very good baked-in way of increasing her damage through her inspiration mechanic through her leadership. So whenever the enemy gains turn meter, whilst your allies have got inspiration, they are going to ramp 5% mastery, which in turn means Rey is going to do more and more damage. She is definitely a good option for that. But I'm sure many people at home already know Scribble. They're like, dude, we know GLs are great. We know that they serve a good purpose. Talk about the units that are not Galactic Legends. What sort of units do you want to do there, and why? I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. So we're obviously going to start off with the most important one, Before we go on any further though, guys, can I just ask a really small favor of you? When I look through my metrics and I see the progress that we've made as a tribe over the 5 years that I've been doing this, I am filled with pride and a little bit of gas. But that's just because of what I ate earlier today. But it does bother me that when I look at the metrics, there's still like 50% of you at home that are not subscribed to the channel. Subscribing to my channel will always guarantee that you get to see the latest videos that I put out, but it helps me reach a wider audience and help more people. So if you haven't already, can I please ask you to subscribe to the channel? You'll have my undying love. And I'll tell Smudgy about it and he'll be really happy. Clone War, no. All right. Sit down. Get your finger off the button, away from that upgrade button. Just because he's getting a Relic 9 Lightspeed bundle and you're getting a free Relic 10, don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't put Relic 10 on Clone Wars Chewbacca just because there is a $5 Lightspeed bundle to get him to Relic level 9. Don't do it. Otherwise, I will visit your house with a very disgruntled face like this, and I'll slap you with a wet fish. Bear in mind, I won't actually do that. That's far too much effort for a man like me. But yes, first and foremost, don't waste it on new Lightspeed bundle Clone Wars Chewbacca, okay? You will regret it, potentially, and Wookiees are still kind of garbage. We don't have Yoda and Chewie. So, when we're looking at characters that you want to take up to Relic 10 that are not Galactic Legends, there are a couple of things that you do want to consider, okay? First and foremost, and I'm going to go big screen to drive this point home, just because we are getting Relic 10 mats does not mean you need to spend them now. You can hold on to those, hold on to it like it's a family heirloom that you're going to wait until the dying days of your life and then you're going to sell it off for millions of pounds and go, I don't know, live your life on an exotic island, drinking rum cocktails, having massages every day. What was I talking about? Yeah, you don't need to spend that Relic 10 mat straight away. And the reason why I'll say hold some caution on this is because we know that is heavy rain out there, and I don't know if you can hear it. We know that whenever we have an increase in Relic levels, like Relic 9 for example, we see a converse increase in requirements for new unlocks. And what I'm talking about is new Galactic Legends, new capital ships, and legendaries in general, okay? I will not be surprised at all if we get a new fleet in the next year in 2026 that requires one Relic 10 character, okay? Or we get a Galactic Legend that requires one Relic 10 character, or a legendary event that requires one Relic 10 character, or heck, new raid next year in about 6-7 months time that requires or has a Relic 10 tier that we now need in order to max out the raid, okay? I fully expect that to be a reality for us in the future. So if you want to hold on to that Relic 10, one Relic 10 is not going to make a massive, humongous difference to your account, but being able to have it locked in the chamber so that you can jump on a new legendary when it comes out, that may well bring you more value. So I'm going to start all of that by saying that preface. There's nothing wrong with holding on to that Relic 10 for a little bit, okay? But if you don't want to hold on to it, and you want to spend it on something, there are a few other considerations to take in, okay? 1, tanks are always going to be tanky, and 2, people that deal large amounts of AoE damage are going to be your friend. 3, Ezra Bridger Exile is a pain in my ass, and will be forever, especially if you put more relic levels on him. The reason I say that is 1, his kit is phenomenal, 2, his mastery includes critical chance, critical damage, deflection chance, and dodge chance, which means more mastery, he is more likely to avoid attacks. He's already got a high level of mastery as it is, he will dodge like 25% of all attacks that come out to him, just base, before any other mastery increases that come round. You throw Relic 10 on this guy, and that's going to go up even further. Also, it's going to increase his damage output. He also has a phenomenal kit that is incredibly survivable, has got a lot of tech in it where he can swap turns, healing, and great amounts of damage and stuns and control. He's basically the perfect character. He's me if I was in the game. So Ezra Bridger Exile is a no-brainer. He is a very, very good unit to consider for Relic 10. I would almost say do him before you do Glat. I will say, do before you do Glat, take Xaereth Prevails Exile to R10 before you do GL Ahsoka Tano, in my opinion. Now, I'm going to follow on from that same theme and think about what are the really good units that exist in the game right now that have got either of those things, either being very good tanks or being very good damage. And you want to cross-section that with what are the meta teams at the moment. I don't want you to think into the world of the obscure and think, well, maybe Ewoks. It's never Ewoks, guys. Trust me. Gerbil, get out of here. It's never Ewoks, all right? You want to consider what are the meta teams that we use right now. Why are they meta? Is it because they are survivable? Is it because they've got tech? Or is it because they deal a lot of damage? With that being said, characters like Darth Bane, phenomenal. There is a side benefit to using Darth Bane as well, is that he only really ever gets used in a team of 2. So you don't need to worry about having a whole team of Relic 10. And moreover, if his ally dies, which is normally what you want the case to be, it's just one guy at Relic 10 that's going to cause your opponent nightmares, alright? So Bane is fantastic because his kit is absolutely out of this world, but also does a lot of AoEs. He's got 2 specials, both which do AoEs, both which increase his mastery, well not his mastery, sorry, both which increase his max health, which he does damage based on, right? And his mastery itself gives you extra accuracy, damage, and defense penetration. Having more damage on this guy, thanks to more relic levels, increasing relic delta as well, means that this guy is going to be even more powerful and will probably still remain an absolute staple in your offensive library. Now don't get me wrong, Bane already does that basically anyway, and he's still going to have the same weaknesses that he always has. For example, Maz is still terrifying to him, and Foresight is his greatest enemy because his attacks can be evaded, and that makes stuff like Malevolent Whirlwind with the Dispel buff thing just kind of fall flat on its face whenever he faces something with Foresight, or high levels of evasion in someone like Xaereth Prevails Exile. Interestingly enough though, Bane does have an accuracy mastery, so against Xaereth Prevails Exile, he's going to kind of be trying to climb his accuracy as much as Xaereth Prevails Exile is trying to climb his evasion. So Bane is a great shout over here. Similarly speaking, good powerful meta characters like Darkside Vision Ray. Always a good shout. She's got an incredibly powerful AoE, which is even more powerful in 3v3. This does true damage to all enemies based on her offense, and she does gain crit chance, crit damage, and damage, which is offense essentially, with her mastery. She's also just part of a really good meta team in Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, who is also a really good shout for Relic 10. So if you wanted to do a little bit of flavor, have a little bit of fun with Darkside Vision Ray, keep your mind out of the gutter please ladies and gentlemen, Darkside Vision Ray is still a really solid option. I personally am wanting to go for someone like Malicos or Starkiller because, I'll be honest guys, there's an element of this game where you just want to have some fun, right? You don't want to have to, oh, it's just my Galactic Legends, I go to Relic 10 with Lord Vader because he's a Galactic Legend. Sometimes you just want to get a cool character, pile them up with a bunch of rocks and throw them. You know what I'm saying? Taron Malicos, Seer Malicos, that team for me is probably my most favorite team to use on offense. I love it. And the idea of giving this guy more relic levels, more relic delta versus opponents to throw rocks at their faces is a good thing in my books. So if you want to take in Malicos and take him up to Relic 10, you have a scribble blessing, a scribe tribe stamp of approval. That's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm going to say. Taron Malicos is absolutely a solid option. Now you can consider units like Darth Malak, Darth Malgus, those sort of characters. Those are high level tanks that a lot of people will already have up to high relics because of things like Leviathan and because they're great units. I would probably say maybe step back just a little bit because these characters aren't quite as meta as they used to be, but they're still not bad choices. And again, let's harken back to that part of you gotta have fun too, guys. The interesting thing about Malak in particular is this attack here, which he life drains 100% of their max health. If you have a positive relic delta, it still increases that damage. Think about that for a second. If an enemy has, say, 100,000 health and 50,000 protection, if you deal lifesteal and you've got a relic delta of 5, you're going to be doing 150% more damage with that lifesteal, which means you're actually going to one-shot that unit with one life drain, even if they had full health and full protection. because that damage gets amplified. Yes, we've tested that. Yes, it works. Interesting, right? Fun, right? So there is a little bit of nuance there. Malak can be very scary as a unit. The only thing I would like to bring to attention, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to consider stuff like this, is pilots. How are pilots going to interact with Relic Delta? We're not quite sure how Relic 10 is going to influence ships right now. It most likely is going to be the same as other Relic levels, where occasionally, based on the number of abilities on the side and all this sort of business, how many Zetas and Omicrons and all that, I think Omicrons don't. No, yes, they do. They can. All that sort of stuff can sometimes result in maybe one extra speed on a ship, and that can sometimes influence the turn orders in which ships take turns. People will be like, oh, I could do it on Darth Revan because, you know, he's required at Relic 9 and that'll always make my Leviathan go first in mirror matches. And you'd be right, but it really doesn't matter. Because the Leviathan mirror match is not based on who goes first, it's not a coin flip. It is a figured out match you can win 100% of the time unless you get god-awful RNG and you just miss a bunch of attacks continually and they focus down your dagger very, very quickly. However, that being said, Darth Revan is still a really fun unit, a really good unit, has got lots of damage output with Force Storm, so could potentially result in lots of big damage to the enemy team. Don't forget also with Darth Revan, Zalbar, and Mission in 3v3 with that Omicron on Zalbar, that team is kind of fun and can beat some really cool stuff like Great Mothers, for example, with a high degree of success. Having Relic Delta levels on top of that will just make that even easier. So he's not a terrible choice, but I would personally steer away from thinking pilots will make really, really good choices, because in the current meta with Fleet, there is always something that is not dependent on relic levels and turn orders in terms of ships. So I wouldn't really worry too much about that. And finally, of course, I'm just going to say Wampa because Wampa is the best. I know she's about to lose her Datacron. Rest in peace, Wampacron. We'll miss you forever. Please make it a permanent Datacron in future CG. I love it. I love it so. But yeah, you gotta love the Wampa Stomps. It's not really a good choice, but they don't have to be good choices. They just have to be fun choices. Now, there are plenty other characters that you could choose apart from the few that I've gone over today, but I did just want to highlight a couple of them for you, as well as wrap in a little bit of context about what might potentially make some good options. Galactic Legends, you can't really go far wrong. Meta teams that are already meta at the moment, you can't really go far wrong. Fun, you can never go wrong with having fun. And finally, just because we're getting a free Relic 10 does not mean you at home need to spend it. And if somebody puts it on Clone Wars Chewbacca, I swear, you're going to have to come into my Discord and tell me, just so that I can ban you. That's right, you heard it here first. I'm going to sip a tea. Finally, guys, you know I say this all the time, but yeah, I love you.